Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is the Queen of the Northeast Kingdom, the head of the Northeast Kingdom Chamber, Darcie McCann. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Scott. How are you doing, my good friend?
I am doing fine. And what do you think about the Queen of the Kingdom?
If you probably didn't see my face.
Well, you might not be the queen, but I think you're one of the heroes that works behind the scenes. And while those of us in the business and that type of community, we all know you, and I think it's safe to say we all respect you tremendously. And you're the head of the Northeast Kingdom Chamber, soon to be the retired head of the chamber.
Yes, I've 29 years.
And you have to be the longest serving chamber president or executive director right now, aren't you?
I am, and I've also been the longest serving here at the Northeast Kingdom Chamber. Before we were the Northeast Kingdom Chamber, we started out in 1891 as the Board of Trade in the St. Johnsbury Chamber. So I'm the longest serving then. So I'm pretty much older than dirt in terms of chamber work.
So if that's the case, were you at the meeting when Senator George Aiken popularized the phrase Northeast Kingdom in 1949?
I was not. I missed that by a couple of years, a twinkle in my dad's eye. But you and I both know his widow, Lola. My God, what a spitfire she was. Absolutely. I've got so many memories of her, but that's just one of the many memories that you have over the almost 3 decades that I've sat.
Oh yeah. Lola was quite the character. She made it to 100, I believe. And I used to pick her up when I was serving. Yeah. I used to pick her up, and when I was at the State House, and I'd bring her over to the Capitol Plaza, and we would have breakfast, and she would regale me with stories, and she was just
she had a million.
Just such a wonderful person. Oh yeah, she did.
One of my favorite stories regarding them was for the 50th anniversary, the Northeast Kingdom receiving its name. I went over and picked up Lola from Montpelier. And along the way, we picked up Senator Graham Newell, which, the amount of history in those two people is unbelievable. And they were sitting in the back seat and just regaling each other. It was just such a wonder to hear them talking. And at one point, Senator Graham Newell, just an amazing human being, there was a vehicle in front of us, and he pointed in front and he goes, Lola, there would not be this without George. And in front of us was an NEK Waste Management District vehicle with the name Northeast Kingdom on it. And I just thought that was really funny. It showed both of their senses of humor.
So, well, you're going to be retiring, and it sounds like you've been reflecting back on the years. Let's go back to the beginning. How did you find yourself in that position?
I started out, as you might know, in newspaper work. I got my journalism degree and started out in newspapers in California. And then when my husband and I were getting married, I got transferred to a paper, the Wellesley Townsman outside Boston. And there, let's just say I had a disagreement with the publisher, and we agreed to part ways. And I ended up very briefly at Merrimack College as the publications director. And my dad, at a family reunion, handed me this notice for the marketing director up at Linden State College. My mom had gone there. My grandmother had gone there. My family's from the Northeast Kingdom, obviously, so I tried for the job and got it, and was there for almost 5 years when Barb Schoolcraft, who was the then director of the Northeast Kingdom Chamber, she'd been there for about 10 years. She encouraged me to try for it, and I got it.
You've been in it long enough to see a lot of changes come to the kingdom, both good and bad. But you've also been involved with many events over the years. Do you have any favorite events you've helped host?
Oh boy. I have to say, looking at some of the events that make me smile, some of our annual meetings were hilarious. We would always try to do a touch of whimsy added with business. We worked on a fall festival, the Colors of the Kingdom, and it was really cool. We had train rides, and to hear back all these families and grandparents saying that their kids grew up, getting on the trains. But the flip side of that as well is the sense of humanity we also tried to bring to the chamber of when there were tragedies, and how we really tried to help lift up and strengthen the region through tough times. There was the fire in St. Johnsbury downtown that destroyed a number of buildings, but more tragically, it took 3 lives. And the chamber was instrumental in starting up the fundraising fund for that. When Melissa Jenkins was murdered, the chamber stepped in and did a fundraiser and got together community leaders to be a part of that and do a fundraiser there. So, it's coupled with a lot of laughter, but also challenges along the way. We've been through, recessions and pandemics, and there's been ups and downs and ebbs and flows, and we've tried to ride them all.
Right. And, you're talking about tragedy. And during that time, you lost not only your husband, you also lost within a short period of time your sidekick at the office.
Yeah,
so you
that
lost
was
both of them.
My daughter said it really well. They were very two strong pillar in my my home pillar, and it was really, really difficult. I won't lie. But honestly, my work kept me going. And, speaking as far as Jen, she was kind of this quiet presence behind the scenes, but she was really, she may have been quiet, but she was extraordinary. And she was a dear friend and great advocate and champion of the kingdom. I'm often seen as the face of, the North Chamber, but she was just extraordinary, and my heart breaks every time. I have a tribute that kind of makes me smile, as she loved penguins. But there's a day that I'm here at the chamber where some element of what she did and how she did it, and even her sense of humor, just enters into it. And the same for my husband. It was a hard break, but you know what it's like better than anybody, and you just got to put one foot in front of the other and keep on going. And the kingdom held me up twice during
Right.
some very difficult times, and I can't thank them enough for doing that.
Yeah, I know the feeling because when my wife was dying, you were right there bringing us cookies and loving our golden retrievers, or they were loving you.
I remember that. I didn't know that golden retrievers could really hug, but they really
Oh
can.
yes, yeah, they can. But one thing I think a lot of organizations are facing. I don't know about the chamber, but a lot of people like to have events. But the numbers of people volunteering seems to be going down from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's a very accurate assessment. We've had to cancel a couple events, including Colors of the Kingdom. We just couldn't it was ironic because in 2019 we had our best year ever with about 6,000 people attending. And then, 2022 we tried to do it and get it out, and 2023, this past year, and just could not get the input. And the world has changed. I think the pandemic changed us all. But one of the things that our members and our businesses of the region kept telling us is, we need you to help us. We need you to handhold. We need you to support and strengthen and be the buffer between maybe the state or some of the problems we're having. So we've really been working far more on workforce development issues, as well as the usual hospitality things that we do, but really trying to break down some of the obstacles and challenges that people have through not only what we do at the chamber, but we have a thing called the Business Assistance Center that, it doesn't matter whether you're a chamber member or not, you call, we'll try to solve the problem. Right.
I don't really know exactly what's gone on with the volunteerism, but I hear that everywhere. But then it gets to be a pet peeve of the organizers of such events is when there's criticism by the very people who won't volunteer. And these events don't just happen. They take hours and a lot of minds to make them happen.
Yeah, it's true. Everybody wants to attend them, but not a lot of people want to work on them. I mean, I just saw a very successful effort through Catamount Arts First Night, and they couldn't do it without volunteers. The Caledonia County Fair, the Orleans County Fair, all these events from East Rygate up to the Canadian border and everywhere in between, that, those events are important because they get a sense of who we are as a region and our people and our sense of place here. And so it's important to try to keep those as best we can.
Right.
But yeah, if I had $1 for every single time I heard, what you ought to do,
right,
with an event, I'd be a millionaire.
Right.
But you're right, people need to step up and help, and I hope they continue to do so a little bit more so than they have in the last couple of years. I know the pandemic's been a factor.
I think one of the worst things to happen to this end of the kingdom, as in Orleans County, is when I believe the term would be, you were going to merge with the North Country Chamber, and that all fell through. And so while you have a very active chamber down in Caledonia County, we're left with a bit of a shell of the chamber that we used to have. I think merging, in my uneducated opinion, would have been a win-win situation.
Well, one of our mutual friends, Gary Kellogg, championed that cause. And I think when he left the scene, a lot of people didn't understand that you can merge and have still a sense of autonomy and independence and not be absorbed and taken in by it and not have a voice. And I think that was one of the challenges we faced back then. We do have a number of members up in the Newport, Orleans area, Derby area, and actually are continuing to grow up there. We just had a merger, the Heart of Vermont Chamber based out of Hardwick area. There's 8 communities over in that area merged with us about a year and a half ago. And that's been quite successful. And we're continuing to have a presence over there. And one I will continue, honestly, when I take my hat off with the chamber, and I'm going to volunteer over in the Hardwick area. But you can't force that kind of relationship. They've got to understand it and feel it themselves. But we're there for people and businesses if they want and need our services.
Yeah. You mentioned Hardwick. That's one community that you've probably seen a lot of positive changes since you walked into your office that first day. Because I know today's Hardwick is not the Hardwick I grew up knowing. And I mean that in a very positive way.
Well, they received a lot of undeserved butt of jokes. And
yeah.
If you really walked up and down the streets of Hardwick and got to know the businesses and the people there, they love their community as well as, and as much as any other community in our 55 towns and gores in the Northeast Kingdom. And I always thought it was unfair. And that's one of the things, we're really trying to work on. Maria Roosevelt worked very hard, as that is the previous director of the Heart of Vermont Chamber, and I'm doing the same. I'm glad people are starting to see all that Hardwick and that area has to offer. They've got
Yep.
The Yellow Barn Project, they've got the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail, they've got the downtown designation they've got the swinging bridge that's going on. There's a lot going on in Hardwick, and it's very, very positive. And I'm glad
Right.
that Hardwick and that area is finally getting its due.
Right.
It's been a long time in coming.
Because at least in the past, Orleans County has struggled to have enough dentists. I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. I ended up going down to Hardwick, and that's my dentist, Dr. Richter's office, which is now changed hands. And when they changed hands, I said to myself, well, they can't be possibly as good as Dr. Richter. So if they're not, I was okay with differences, but I stayed there, and I absolutely still love going there. They actually make going to the dentist almost fun. And that's from a dental phobic. So,
yeah, that's a great compliment when you can say that about a dentist, isn't it?
Yeah, our generation was kind of the generation with dentistry that we weren't like our parents' generation, where grin and bear it, and they had a lot of pain. We were at the stage where, they probably weren't as painful as we like to remember, but now going to the dentist, it's, other than our nerves, I don't find it that bad.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. We all grew up drinking Kool-Aid, sugar water, along with our meals when we were kids, and that was the norm. So it's no wonder, we all had cavities, and fluoride was just coming in and being accepted. It sounds like we're in the 1800s here, but it was a different time. But boy, yeah, the technology that's come along with it, with so many things throughout the kingdom, it's really been kind of cool to witness in my 29 years here.
If there was something that is going on today, or some kind of technology or something, that if you'd been told 29 years, I mean, maybe positive I'm focusing on, but if it was negative, is there something 29 years ago that's happening today that you'd say, I would never have guessed? And I guess it could be negative too.
Well, I think one of the funniest things, when I was coming from the college, and I was the marketing director there, one of the aspects that I had to really tell my board is, there's this thing called the web that's coming along. They had no idea what it was, and that was a very big sell of trying to convince them about what the World Wide Web was, and we need a website. And I heard more than once, oh, that's just yep, there's my answering machine in the background. But it is that it was going to last. And if you look at Facebook and Instagram and all the various technologies and how we communicate, it's completely and utterly different.
Oh yeah, could you imagine now your board deciding, let's get rid of our website?
Yeah. Or Zoom meetings, that look what we're doing right now. We're in different areas, and, communicating, you can do it across the country, across the world. It's extraordinary the way technology has assisted and helped us doing our jobs. And I know our businesses feel that as well.
Well, the Jetsons were ahead of everybody, because if you grew up watching the Jetsons, some of this far-fetched technology, like Zoom meetings, were actually on the Jetsons. And hey, we only have about 10 more minutes left, but you've had a lot of events happening, and you had control of some of them, as in man had control of them, as in men and women. You have one big event coming up on April 8th, that the big man upstairs is controlling, and you have very little control, is the first full solar eclipse since August 31st, 1932. And they really ramped up for this big event in 1932. They advertised all the restaurants, they advertised the motels, and I believe just about every lodge and establishment in the kingdom was packed. And what are you doing for this? It'll be probably a one in a lifetime event for you and I.
Yeah, one of the things that we're going to be doing this week is sending out a press release all over the kingdom and put it really on Instagram and Facebook there's got to be a repository, someplace that everybody can go. We've already got the most extensive website, on things going on in the kingdom, as well as our information on the kingdom. But I think, sort of one-stop place where you can find out. We're planning to identify on our website specific things relative to the eclipse so that people can easily find them, putting them in different colors, or, singling them out so people can easily see where they are, what time they are. So that's going out this week, but it just has been an interesting phenomenon for people. A year ago, I was going, one of the motels called up and going, why are we getting all these reservations in the middle of mud season for next, for 2024?
Yeah.
And had to tell them, yeah, it's the eclipse. We're going to be one of the areas where it's going to be the best to see it.
Yeah. And because back in 32, not only did we have thousands of visitors, but we also had astronomers from around the United States and probably from around the world set up shop all over the place. And you've probably seen some of my photos from 1932, the astronomers. Mm-hmm. And I look at those and I want to see the technology they bring with them today. And I bet you it's vastly different than these huge monstrosity wood cameras or wood, I don't know what you call them. But I've been, when I was recording stories along the way of the 32 eclipse, I guess I didn't even know another one was going to be coming up. So I'm so fortunate to have recorded those stories. So I'm doing a 2-part series on the 32 eclipse and then rolling it over to this eclipse.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we have lived and survived and gone on to sit there and say we've lived through a 100-year pandemic. We hadn't had that since 1919, and now we're going to have a once in a lifetime type of thing happen again. They're in the case of the pandemic, glad to put it behind us, but this one's going to be fun.
So I got a question. Does that mean we're starting to get old?
Starting. I did not come to this job with this right here, the white and the gray starting, but I've earned every single one of them, and proud to have them. So
we only have about 5 minutes left. What are you going to do with your time? Because you have been a very active member of the community. Everybody knows you. And you might be, I don't know anybody who doesn't like you. And so what are you going to do?
Great. Well, I plan to take a part-time job. I think it'd be nice not to have, as you know, being in the public sector, it can be demanding, and it'd be nice not to have the stresses. I mean, waking up in the 2 o'clock in the middle of the night going, oh crap, I forgot that.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to probably have a part-time job. I'm going to write more. I'm going to, I haven't taken a vacation in a good long time. I'm going to travel to see family and friends. But I will, as I said, I will, a lot of people have asked, am I going to continue my column in the Caledonian Record? And I will. And who knows, Scott, I may be doing more writing up your way as well.
Well, that's good. And I know a monthly history magazine, and I understand the publisher's always looking for contributors. So
I don't know. I don't know if you knew that I, as well as a journalism degree, did you know I have an oral history and folklore?
Not really. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right
background
up
as
my
well.
alley.
Yep, that was my my concentration. Yep.
Um, so so you don't just plan to walk off into the sunset.
I'm staying put. I love this region. I love even the winter time. I love all four seasons. You know, there's some people they go off into the sunset and head to warmer climes. I I I burn even thinking about the sun, so that doesn't have the appeal that a lot of warmer places would have. But I love it here, and I can do what I want to do by visiting people here and there. But I'll always come back home.
So when are you retiring? I don't think we mentioned that.
Mid-May. And one of the things I did want to mention really quickly is I'm trying to get things in good order. I said in my column, spit spot, as Mary Poppin would say. We've updated our database, which you wouldn't think that's a boring thing, but it's unbelievably important for what we do when we've got a whole bunch of constituent bases like we do. But more importantly, to a lot of people, we'll have a personalized system across all the things that we do in a website that will affect the newsletter, the database, trying to get member listings and membership labels and everything along that line. But the website is going to be new and fantastic, and we hope to have it really be cutting edge where, you know, continue what we did with our past website and just bring it into the, you know, cutting edge and really give the kingdom its due.
Has a new president, executive director been chosen yet?
No, we're starting that. We wanted to give it about 4 or 5 months out. We're going to do some, you know, sort of orientation, shadowing, and I've got pamphlets and guidebooks started so that person can, you know, they're going to go along their own path and do their own things, but, you know, give them some suggestions along the way, and I'll only be a phone call away as well.
Will you help with the transition?
Yeah, in an advisory capacity. I've talked about that with the board. That person has got to find their own way, their own path, as I said, their journey of being a chamber director like I did. And, you know, they don't need the shadow of me in the background, but I will be there to help wherever I can, you know, just because I will give them my keys and head out the door does not mean I need them any less. And I want this person to succeed, and I'll do whatever I can to help them out.
Well, in closing, I've got to say how much you've meant to me over the years, and because we've talked about over the kingdom, and we kind of drifted into one another over the years. I think the journal has been in operation as either 23 or 22 or 23 years, and possibly I even met you back in my Chronicle days, but we kind of drifted. We became friends, became partners in this, our love of the Northeast Kingdom. And then in a strange way, we, well, in a tragic way, you lost your husband to cancer. And then I lost my wife to cancer, and you were there. You were one of the people there to pick me up and not just give words, because you actually, you know, people who haven't lost a spouse, they will say things, but they don't understand.
Correct.
You and I now understand.
Yeah, it's a sister and brotherhood you never want to be a part of, but you know, anybody who's gone through it like rehab, you're always going to be helping that other person get up off the floor and, you know, get back on their feet, like you have and I've tried to do since we've lost our spouses.
Yeah, no, and you know what, you never, as I tell people, is it's always going to, that person, your spouse, is always going to be part of you, no matter where you know, no matter the path you take, and it's always, you know, luckily you get further out and they become fond memories, and you think less about the sadness. So, and you celebrate their lives more. At least that's the way I've got to the point as.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to say, imparting and leave something positive, is Cheryl Ralph is this actress, and she had this incredible line from Abbott Elementary, and it talks about staying true to your principles and being positive through criticism and despite criticism. And the quote is this: for all of you in the public sector and nonprofits who go through tough times, the quote is, people have thrown dirt on my name. Others have given me flowers, but it's all a garden to me.
That's great. And those are great words to end by. And as I said, you've done so much for the Northeast Kingdom. Now, I know you're not going to sit back, relax, and enjoy life, but I hope you find time to enjoy life.
You too.
All
Thank
right.
you so much, my friend.
Thank you for everything, and thank you for coming on today.
Oh, it was an honor. Thank you.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.